There are 15 fermented foods that can do real healing work in your body, and by the end of this you will know exactly which one to reach for first. Picture a cold ship's hold in the year 1770, friend, the timbers sweating salt, a barrel of shredded cabbage in the corner going sour in the dark. The men who ate from that barrel came home with their teeth still in their heads. The men on the ship beside them did not. That sour cabbage was medicine, and your gut is starving for what was in it. Nothing here heals you in a single instant. I will not lie to you about that. But there is one food waiting at number one that can dissolve the very clots that stop a man's heart, and doctors are only now catching up to what a Japanese grandmother has always known. Stay with me because most of what you buy in a jar today is dead, and I am going to show you the living kind. For a very long time, friend, every people on this earth kept their food alive. They soured their milk, they buried their cabbage, they let the wild yeasts work, and they did not suffer the slow miseries we suffer now, the gut trouble, the sour bellies, the defenses that turn on their own owner. Then, somewhere around the 1920s, we learned to pasteurize and can and sterilize everything, and we cooked the life clean out of our food. It was not a conspiracy, it was just money. A jar that can sit on a shelf for 2 years and never change makes more money than a living crock that has to be tended. That is all it ever was, money, and an era, not evil. But here is the honest part, and I will only say it once. These foods are not magic. Nothing you eat heals you instantly, no matter what the title of this video promised you. What they do is slower and better than magic. They feed the trillions of tiny lives in your gut, and a great deal of your health, your mood, your defenses starts right down there. The old people knew that by feel. We are only now proving it. My name is Amos, and for 60 years I have dug roots and put up food the old mountain way, the same ways my grandmother taught me before I could read. I am not a doctor, and nothing I say here is medical advice, so do not throw out anything a real doctor put in your hand. Real quick before we start, most folks who watch this channel are not subscribed. If you like the old ways of keeping food alive and keeping a body well, go ahead and hit subscribe. It is free, and it helps an old root man keep making these. All right, let us count them down together from 15 all the way to number 1, and we start with the humblest healer of them all, number 15. Number 15 is sauerkraut, and it is where I want every one of you to begin. It is nothing but cabbage and salt, shredded fine and pressed under its own brine until the wild bacteria turn it sour, that is all. The Germans carried it on their ships against scurvy because the souring keeps the vitamin C alive where cooking would kill it, and the sailors who ate it kept their teeth and their lives. A single forkful carries billions of live bacteria, and a load of vitamin K2 your bones and your arteries hunger for. And here is the part that should make you sit up. Researchers at Stanford ran a study where people eating fermented foods like this grew a more diverse gut than people eating a high-fiber diet. More diverse than fiber, friend. Your action tonight is the cheapest medicine you will ever make. 1 head of cabbage and salt in a mason jar is your first ferment, and it costs under $3. Whatever you do, do not buy the canned shelf-stable kind and think it is medicine, because if it did not need the cold case, it was cooked dead. Keep the brine, it is half the cure. And that brings us to a food the old folk pickled without a drop of vinegar. Number 14 is the real lacto-fermented pickle, and it is nothing like what sits in the grocery aisle. Your great-grandmother put cucumbers in a crock with salt and water and let time do the rest. No vinegar. That one distinction is everything, friend. The pale pickles on the shelf are soaked in vinegar and heat, which makes them crunchy and dead. The old kind ferment in their own brine and come out swimming with live cultures. Farmers used to drink the brine straight from the crock to stop a muscle cramp in the fields. Science now backs those live cultures for calming an angry gut. Your action this week costs you 1 label read. Turn the jar over. If it says vinegar, put it back. If it says salt, water, and dill, and it lives in the cold case, you have found the real thing. Now what about the drink the old world brewed from tea? Number 13 is kombucha, sweet tea turned to tonic by a living mat the old folks called the mother. In the far corners of Russia and Manchuria, they brewed it for 100 years and swore it cleaned the blood and the liver. What they were tasting was acetic and glucuronic acid, the compounds your liver leans on to carry poisons out of the body. Along with a raft of B vitamins, the fermentation builds from nothing. It is fizzy, it is sour, and a small glass before a meal wakes the whole digestion up. Your action is simple. Drink 4 to 8 ounces before your biggest meal, no more, because it is strong. But whatever you do, do not grab the sugary pasteurized bottles dressed up like soda, because if it is sweet as pop and sits on the warm shelf, the life is gone and only the sugar is left. Next comes the one you already have in your refrigerator, made wrong. Number 12 is real yogurt, and I mean the strained, full-fat kind made from whole milk, not the sweetened paste in the little cups. For thousands of years, the herding people soured their milk with two humble bacteria and lived on it. Those cultures predigest the milk sugar, which is why folks who cannot drink milk can often eat this without trouble. Studies show it shortens how long a bout of diarrhea lasts, and it is the first thing you should reach for after a round of antibiotics has scorched your gut clean. The full fat matters, friend, because it carries a fatty acid the skim kind throws away. Your action tonight is to strain a bowl of plain whole milk yogurt through a cloth and make yourself labneh, the thick old cheese of the shepherds. Whatever you do, do not buy the pink fruit on the bottom kind and call it health, because it is sugar wearing a health costume. Now let me show you a sour splash that tames your blood sugar. Number 11 is apple cider vinegar with the mother, that cloudy cobweb floating in the bottle that most people mistake for spoilage. That cloud is the living culture, friend, and it is the whole point. The old-timers took a spoonful in water before a heavy meal, and it turns out they were onto something real. A tablespoon in a glass of water before you eat can blunt the rise in your blood sugar afterward by 15 to 30%, which is no small thing for a body fighting the sugar sickness. Your action is 1 tablespoon in a big glass of water before dinner, but hear me plain, always dilute it, never ever drink it straight, because it will burn your throat and strip your teeth. And whatever you do, do not buy the clear filtered kind with no mother in it, because they have taken out the very thing that heals. Next is a bread that will not spike you the way the bagged loaf does. Number 10 is real sourdough bread, the kind raised with nothing but wild yeast and thyme, not the bagged loaf with vinegar and baker's yeast added to fake the flavor. True sourdough ferments for 8 to 48 hours, and in that long, slow rise, the bacteria break down the very things in wheat that trouble us. It lowers the way the bread hits your blood sugar, it breaks down the phytic acid that blocks your minerals, and it makes the gluten far easier on a tender gut. Many a person who swears bread hurts them can eat true sourdough in peace. The old bakers kept a starter alive for generations, a living thing handed down like an heirloom. Your action is to find a real bakery and ask one question: is this a genuine long ferment sourdough? If they hesitate, walk out. That bagged sandwich bread is not bread, friend, it is a soft imitation. Next, we leave the West for a protein the old islanders perfected. Number 9 is tempeh, and this one comes to us from the islands of Indonesia, where they have made it for centuries. It is whole soybeans bound into a firm cake by a friendly mold, and it is one of the finest plant proteins on this earth. A single cup carries around 30 grams of complete protein, as much as a good piece of meat. The fermentation breaks down the phytic acid that raw beans hide behind, so your body can actually reach the minerals inside. It even makes a little of its own natural antibiotics as it ferments. Your action is to slice it thin, fry it crisp in a little oil, and eat it in place of meat one night this week. Whatever you do, do not confuse it with the plain tofu block, because tofu is not fermented and does not do this work. Next is a drink so alive it makes yogurt look lazy. Number 8 is coconut kefir, the answer for every one of you who cannot take dairy. The same kefir grains that sour milk will turn coconut water or coconut milk into a fizzing, living tonic full of beneficial strains. And the coconut brings its own gift, a set of fats called caprylic and lauric acid that fight the yeast overgrowth called candida that plagues so many folks. It carries electrolytes too, so it puts back what a hard day sweats out. Your action is to find an unsweetened coconut kefir in the cold case, or culture your own with grains, and take a small glass on an empty stomach. But whatever you do, do not grab a sweetened coconut drink off the warm shelf and think you are getting this, because the sugar feeds the very yeast you are trying to starve. Now we turn to a blood-red tonic the Eastern Europeans swore by. Number 7 is beet kvass, a deep red drink the peasants of Eastern Europe fermented from beets, salt, and water. They drank it as a tonic for the blood, the liver, and the heart, and once again the old feel was right. Beets are loaded with nitrates, and your body turns those nitrates into nitric oxide, the very thing that opens your blood vessels and eases the pressure inside them. It can bring a high top number down by 5 to 10 points and help an old set of legs walk farther. Do not be alarmed if it turns your water pink. That is only the beet passing through. Your action is 4 ounces of beet kvass before a meal once a day. Whatever you do, do not reach for the sugary, bottled beet juices, because the added sugar undoes half the good. Next is a food most folks have been eating dead their whole lives without knowing. Number 6 is raw milk aged cheese, the real farmhouse kind, aged Parmesan and Gouda and cheddar and the blue vein Roquefort. Made from milk that was never heated to death, these cheeses hold live cultures right through their long aging. They are among the very richest sources on Earth of vitamin K2, the nutrient that tells your body to put calcium into your bones instead of your arteries. The old cheesemakers of Europe aged these in caves for years, and the bacteria made short-chain fatty acids that feed the lining of your gut. Your action is to seek out a raw milk aged cheese at a proper cheese counter and eat a small piece a few times a week. But whatever you do, do not mistake the plastic-wrapped, pasteurized, individually sliced squares for this, because those are cooked and dead. Now we come to the drink of the longest living people on record. Number 5 is milk kefir, and friend, this is the king of the fermented drinks. Where your yogurt holds 2 to 7 strains of bacteria, kefir holds 20 to 60, along with beneficial yeasts, and unlike yogurt, it can actually take up residence and colonize your gut rather than just passing through. It comes from the Caucasus Mountains, where the people are famous the world over for living past 100, and they have drunk it every day for centuries. The milk sugar is already pre-digested, so the milk-sensitive can drink it. Research ties it to calmer digestion, relief from that irritable gut, and even a steadier mood through the gut-brain connection. Your action is a half cup a day, worked up slowly, because it is powerful. Whatever you do, do not buy the sweetened, thin, pasteurized kefir drinks, because the heat kills the very cultures you are paying for. Next is the paste, a Japanese study tied to fewer cases of breast cancer. Number 4 is miso, the savory paste the Japanese have made from soybeans in a friendly mold called koji for well over 1,000 years. Aged anywhere from weeks to years, it fills with enzymes, amino acids, and the plant compounds called isoflavones, and the fermentation strips away the phytic acid that blocks your minerals. In Japan, women who eat miso soup daily have been found in large studies to have lower rates of breast cancer. A warm bowl of miso broth is old medicine in a cup. Your action is to stir a spoonful of real miso into hot, not boiling water and drink it. And here is the one that trips everyone up. Whatever you do, do not boil the miso, because high heat kills the living cultures that do the work. Stir it in at the very end, off the heat. Next are the top 3, and they are the strongest healers on this whole list. Number 3 is kimchi, the fiery fermented cabbage and radish of Korea laced with chili, garlic, and ginger. Every Korean household made its own, burying crocks of it through the winter, and they carry some of the lowest rates of certain modern illnesses in the world. Korean scientists have mapped the special bacteria that grow in it, one they named for the dish itself, and tied it to a stronger immune system, lower cholesterol, and steadier blood sugar. The chili brings capsaicin, the garlic feeds your good bacteria like fertilizer, and together they make a medicine that happens to taste alive. Your action is a few forkfuls alongside your dinner, and let me tell you, it wakes up a tired plate. Whatever you do, do not buy the pasteurized, shelf-stable kimchi in the sealed pouch, because the heat has killed the cultures. It must live in the cold. Now the second strongest, and it is the one the old people reached for the moment a cough started. Number 2 is fermented garlic and honey, and this one is a legend in every old kitchen. Whole peeled garlic cloves dropped into raw honey and left to ferment for 4 to 8 weeks until the honey thins and the garlic turns mellow and gold. Garlic gives up a compound called allicin, one of nature's great germ killers, and raw honey brings its own power to fight germs and soothe a raw throat. Together they are the tonic the old folks reached for the instant a cold or the flu came sniffing around the house. A single clove and a spoon of that honey at the first tickle in your throat is old wisdom you can taste. Your action is to start a jar this very week so it is ready before cold season comes. Whatever you do, do not use the cheap processed honey from the plastic bear because it has been heated and filtered until the life is gone. And now, friend, we come to number 1, the food that does something no other on this list can do. Number 1 is natto, the sticky, stringy, fermented soybean that Japan has eaten for over 1,000 years, and it is the single most powerful food on this entire list. I will not pretty it up. It smells strong, and it strings like glue. But hear what it does. As the bacteria ferment those beans, they produce an enzyme called nattokinase, and that enzyme has been shown to dissolve fibrin, the very stuff that blood clots are built from, the same clots that stop a heart and drop a man where he stands. Remember the promise I made you at the very start. This is it. Modern researchers are studying nattokinase for exactly that, keeping the blood flowing and the clots from forming. And natto is the single richest food source of vitamin K2 in the form called MK7 on the whole planet. One serving carries around 300 micrograms when your body is looking for maybe 30 to 50. That K2 pulls calcium out of your arteries and drives it into your bones right where you need it. The people of Japan who eat this hold some of the longest, most heart-healthy lives on record. Your action is to try 1 small spoonful over rice in the morning and give your nose time to make peace with it. Whatever you do, do not think a K2 pill from the store is the same, because the whole living food does what no lone pill can. There it is, friend. The barrel in the ship's hold, the crock in the cellar, and at the very top, a humble bowl of sticky beans that helps keep the river of your blood running clear. Now let us pull back and look at the whole sweep of it, friend. Not one of these foods is magic. Not one heals you in an instant, no matter what any title promises. But every one of them does something the modern shelf cannot. It brings your food back to life, and in doing so it brings the trillions of little lives in your own gut back to strength. And that is where so much of your health truly begins, in the warm, dark garden inside you that we spent 100 years starving. If you never learned any of this, that is not on you. You were born into an age that sold you dead food in bright packages and called it progress. You were not foolish, you were sold to. But you know now, and knowing changes everything. Here is what I want you to feel. When you press that cabbage into a jar and watch it come alive on your own counter, you are doing a thing your great-grandmother did, and her grandmother before her. You are stepping out of the line at the store and back into a knowing that no company can sell you and no shortage can take from you. A person who can keep their own food alive and keep their own body well with it is a person who cannot easily be made helpless. That is not just supper, friend. That is a kind of freedom, and it fits in a mason jar. So do 2 things for me down in the comments. First, tell me which of these 15 you already eat and which one you are going to make first. And second, tell me this. Was there a fermented food in your own family, something a parent or a grandparent made and set on the table that I did not name today? I read every one I can, and the old family recipes you share never cease to amaze me. Thank you for spending this time with me, friend. It means more than an old root man can easily say. I am not a doctor, only a man who has lived the old ways, so take what serves you and leave the rest. Look after yourselves, and come walk the woods with me again. And come back next time, because I am going to show you the wild plants growing along your own fence line that the old people turned into medicine, and there is one common weed most folks yank out and throw away that may do more for a set of stiff joints than anything on the drugstore shelf. That story is waiting for you.